Paul.
Me.
And
I'm Paul.
we're here to tell you about the news because we love the news and we want you to know about it and also love it and get the latest headlines without too much ado. But we're happy to have you this week. It is September the 29th, the last week of September. And on today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about Walton County Commissioner's call for more office space for herself, as well as a call to definitely not go and see if they can get gambling in Walton County. Wink, wink. And Marcus Chambers, Okaloosa County Superintendent of Schools, has been elected the president of the FHSAA board. For all the uninitiated, that's the people that run high school sports. We'll talk about that as well. And then finally, I've been working on this one for a couple of weeks. I'm kind of excited about it. There is a very interesting case out of northern Okaloosa County that has to do with a gun range and a private property owner. They're at loggerheads, and they are now headed to the Florida State Supreme Court. We'll tell you what it means for you as a property owner and as a gun owner, I suppose, as well. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. But before we do that, here on Paul and Saul, we talk hats. Paul's got a hat. Paul's got a nice hat.
I do have a hat. By the way, before we get started, where has the month of September gone? It's crazy.
It's been in a hot, sweaty, humid fury, but at least it rained finally, which I thought was pretty neat. I like rain.
My grass needed it for sure.
Oh yeah, it is getting bad out there, bud.
Yes. So let me scoot in here. I am wearing One Day Doors and Closets of
One
Northwest
day.
Florida.
One day.
You did that last time we wore this hat, I think.
One day. Can't help it.
But if you have any closet needs, door needs, or maybe even some upgrades just in general you want to do to the inside of your house, you should call One Day Doors and Closets of Northwest Florida.
Yeah, and while you're thinking about calling One Day Doors and Closets of Northwestern Florida, you should check out Northwest Florida State College right here in our community here in Niceville and in Crestview and in South Walton and in Defuniak Springs. Whether you're just starting out, looking to finish your degree, wanting to learn new skills for your career, Northwest Florida State College has flexible programs that will fit your schedule and your goals and your budget. I think a credit hour is $100 or something like that, $109 a credit hour. It's stupid insane.
Affordable, quite affordable to get that.
I think it's less than 10 grand. So you can get the learning done. So if you want to get some extra learning done, Northwest Florida State College is online. You can Google them and nwfsc.edu. That's Northwest Florida State College. Your future starts here. So first things first, I thought this one was really fun. So I actually did a short skit video about it last week. It seemed to take off. Talking about two distinct things at the Walton County Commission meeting. That's right. I subjected my dad to another 5-hour Walton County Commission meeting to bring you the stuff you need to know. He's like a Bontham spy, like in Star Wars.
I seriously thinks he kind of likes it.
I think he's a glutton for punishment.
A little bit of a masochist.
But I always think about like in Star Wars and A New Hope, where Princess Leia is like, all these Bontham spies have died to bring us this information on R2-D2 or whatever. I'm like, that's my dad, except he's going to a Walton County Commission meeting. But yeah, so two things of note from this commission meeting that was not, policy-wise a big mover and shaker one, but it was little stuff. Chairwoman Donna Johns asked for more office space. She says that her 1,000 square foot office space that she has currently is too small. She's asked to double that in size. One of the things she cited is that she can't fit 5 people in the room. I don't know whether or not that's true, but that's what she said. As you might have imagined, in Walton County, very small C conservative with their money on stuff like this, or at least that's what I've seen from them, is that they don't typically end up letting this go without some sort of like pushback. Tony Anderson, another county commissioner, said like, hey, not only did he say, hey, we shouldn't spend money on this, you just renovated, he said, hey, you might not win your election next year. I mean, dude, from the top rope. That's not something that happens in most elected bodies where they go, hey, you are going to be up for election next year and you might lose.
I'm not gonna judge Ms. Johns' request because I don't know what the size of her office really looks like and what her needs are. But I do find it interesting that they just spent money on this like a little while ago, and now she wants to, do it all over again. But I guess it doesn't really matter. For as funny as the conversation was in the back and forth, they still voted 4-1.
Yeah, 4-1. So Commissioner Anderson, the one that brought up that Donna Johns could lose her election next year, which is, I'm guessing, not the best way to continue collegiality upon an elected body is to remind them that you could be a loser. Do you? But yeah, 4-1. So, but the other part of this that I thought was really funny is that another commissioner, Danny Glidewell, was essentially raised his hand and said, "Hey, if she's getting more office space, I want more office space." And they kind of like ticked off a list of like, "Hey, it's really humid. The air conditioning doesn't work. That kind of stuff." And everybody's like, "Okay, fine." And so they did that. And then the other interesting piece of this little story that I found to be just is that the Miccosukee tribe, so a group that split off from the Seminoles back during the Seminole Wars in the 1850s and has a reservation down in South Florida, wanted to invite Chairwoman Johns down to Miami for a kind of like a meet and greet event. Now, I looked over the agenda, and it doesn't say, "Hey, we want to put a casino in Walton County," but the commission read into that and said, "Hey, they want to put a casino in Walton County." And as you might have guessed, there was some opposition. Danny Glidewell again saying, "Hey, Danny Glidewell, I think in his day job has been everything from a sheriff's deputy to a pastor to church, was very much against this den of iniquity, proposed den of iniquity, as the Bible puts it." But they all ended up saying like, "Hey, you can go on this trip if you want, but the county's not going to pay for it." Because ultimately Donna Johns was asking, "Hey, I need money for this to go down there for this trip." And they said, "Yeah, if you want to go, that's great, but the tribe needs to pay for it."
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I both in the past have been, fairly on the side of like, hey, let's do some exchanges and let's get some cultural diversity and allowing government officials to go off and do that, I think is fine. But man, this state does have this kind of like love-hate relationship with betting.
Yeah.
Obviously, mostly it's South Florida. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the state and you wanted to put a casino somewhere where there isn't one currently, Walton County, I mean, that might be an interesting place to put it. Not that I would be for something like that, but
Heavens to Betsy, Paul.
no, I closed my Hard Rock Bets account a long time ago.
So I will say this for the people up here in Northwest Florida. In Ebro, there is a card lounge. Ebro, if it's not the biggest city in Washington County, but dadgum, it's one of the two, right? And so they have a horse racing betting track or a greyhound betting track since they closed down the greyhound tracks about 10 years ago.
Right.
You can still bet on greyhound racing. It's just televised somewhat from somewhere else. And then I guess you place your bets along with a card room. So there's not nothing out here, but I would imagine that the Ebro card group is probably not thrilled to hear that the Miccosukee tribe is courting Chairwoman Johns at this moment.
So Chairwoman Johns has basically asked them to pay for it now, and so we're in a holding pattern to see how this all works out.
Yeah. So never a dull moment at the Walton County Commission. Brought to you by Stephen Saul, who was at a meeting that we're going to talk about just a little bit because we're going to have a story about it later this week, and I'm trying to find it on my board of stuff. But they had the asphalt plant meeting over there near Freeport. And then they also had the Sunliner Diner meeting over there in 30A. It was a 7-hour meeting for 2 topics. Wow. 7 hours.
Wow.
They were in a meeting longer than I sleep at night.
Well, we won't give any spoilers, but I'd be shocked if anything got voted down.
Anyway, moving on to our next thing. Marcus Chambers, Superintendent of Walton County, is now the elected president of the FHSAA board. What does that mean? Well, basically, he's in charge of the rules, regulations of high school athletics here in the state of Florida. We've reached out to his office and to the FHSAA for an interview, but the long story short is that he's going to have a lot of control over how stuff goes. 2026, for example, we have a redistricting coming up. So different teams, how does that look? I was on a show last week, the Florida High School Football Panhandle Blitz show last week, and we talked a lot about what is reformation going to look like. Paul, what did high school football, because that's really what this comes down to, right? How did high school football look in terms of who went where? How did the district stuff? Do you remember any of that from when you were in high school?
I just remember it being more local. We played Fort Walton Beach and Choctaw a lot more, and the rivalries seemed a little bit tighter and geographically tight. But this is awesome for Mr. Chambers. This is an elected or not an elected, an appointed position by Governor
So,
DeSantis.
so he's
So
appointed to the board, and then the board votes for their president.
yeah. But I mean, I think when they vote, they're going to go in alignment with what Mr. DeSantis wants, or at least is hinted at. But yeah, this is great for Marcus, and this is probably really good for our community as well, just to have a little more somebody in that position that has the Panhandle's needs in mind.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, especially with this redistricting for all these sports here in the next couple of months. I would love to see. I was talking on that show, and I guess I'm a radical interventionist when it comes to how we district for high school football or high school sports in general. You see us playing these teams from further and further afield instead of like teams close, right? So we don't play Fort Walton Beach anymore.
Right.
But you'll see really, really big teams play really, really small teams all the time. And so people are like, well, you need to make sure they play schools of similar size. But I mean, we watched Niceville blow out Gulf Breeze. They're two similar sized teams, 56-6 this weekend, and then lose to Choctaw 42-7 a week ago. Right. And so the school size thing doesn't seem to be as strong of an argument for me anymore with all the NIL and you can basically go to school wherever you want stuff. So I'm hopeful that he'll give us a little more direction on what that's going to look like in the future. And he's got at least a year to do it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they value his opinion. He was just put on that board last year, and to be made president this quickly, I mean, obviously, they're valuing his opinions. So it'll be interesting to see if like anything significant changes, or if he's going to bring like a seascape change in some form or fashion. But obviously, this is good for our local community, and it's probably pretty good for Mr. Chambers' career as well.
I bet you it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So moving on, we have, I think, a story that's going to really lean on your expertise more than mine. So there is a gun range called the Element Gun Range out in Holt, Florida, off of Highway 90. But before that gun range opened, about 20 years before, a Niceville family named the Gartmans had built a big old house there to retire. And they had, everything from a tennis court to a swimming pool to, I think, like 80 acres of land for their horses to trot along. And the gun range opens, I think, in like 2017, 2018. It's been almost a decade. And, people are shooting. It's 24-hour gun range. It's some people call them cowboy gun ranges, where you can shoot in every direction, kind of like a tactical simulator sort of thing. And so the Gartmans sued, or attempted to sue, in district court to say like, hey, bullets are falling on our property. Can't have the horses here because they scare too easily. My family can't be here. They're infringing on my property rights. Well, back in the 1990s, 1997, a lady named Marion Hammer, who people might know if they're into guns at all, she was the president of the NRA in Florida, had the state legislature, and I mean had the state legislature, she's an incredible lobbyist, nobody can deny that, pass a bill that basically said you cannot bring a noise or a nuisance complaint against a gun range. And so the Gartmans were basically left without recourse, according to the state law. Well, their attorney took the case up and said, I think instead of saying this is a nuisance thing that we can't do, we're going to challenge the validity of the law. And so in the first court, the district court, they said, no, you can't do this. So they took it up the next level to the District Court of Appeals, which said, actually, the Gartmans' rights are being infringed on because they're not able to bring a case. And so we say that this law is unconstitutional because you're not allowed to bring a case. What that means now is that it's going to the Florida State Supreme Court, and it's going to be law statewide, of course, but there's also a chance that it could go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, depending on what the Florida Supreme Court says. And you are a developer who has to deal with large swathes of land, a lot of people. I mean, you have this asphalt plant that's going to be near a property of yours in Freeport. There's plenty of things that can affect where people live, especially when you build large amounts of housing. And I guess my question is like, how do you deal with stuff like that as somebody that is like looking at the land, looking at property, and looking at potential changes in the law?
Yeah, I mean, it's super tough. Like when I bought my property in Walton County, I called the sheriff and I said, I got this many acres. What can I do on my land gun wise? And he's like, as long as you're within, an acre or two of the edges and you're on the interior, you can fire off as many guns as you would like. Yeah, it's a challenging one. Full disclosure, I've been to Element Training Complex. I actually got
Mhm.
my concealed carry training there, so I'm a little bit familiar with the facility. I'm not familiar with all the different services they provide, but it's a very professional facility with lots of berms, and obviously lots of land. I think it's at around 200 acres, so it's a really, really spacious place. Man, I secretly hope that they could come to some sort of middle ground agreement. Maybe they stay away from the property a little bit further away. um it's going to be a tough one because this sort of pits like two Republican ideals against each other, right? Like we really like
Don't
our
tell me
right,
what to do on my land.
right, and we like
Don't
guns.
bother me.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
like guns as well. And
Yeah.
so I don't think I have some like pun intended magic bullet, solution for this. I feel bad for the Gartmans. I'm assuming everything that's in their in their case is true. I think sometimes when you're trying to win something, you'll say things that maybe aren't 100% true. But if stray bullets are landing on their property and all their animals are being spooked, and now their family members don't even want to come visit them on a piece of property that they intended to be sort of multi-generational and something that they could keep in their family for a long time. I think it's a really tough case, and I think it will. I think it will ultimately will go to the Florida Supreme Court. I think there'll
Mhm.
be a decision there. I'm not sure if it'll make it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, but it'd be super interesting to be on the fly of the wall of like some of these gun organizations like the NRA and stuff on how they kind of feel about this case.
Well, I think it's a fascinating case study, right? What you said, it's like it's two big R, like capital R party Republican values that are pitting themselves against each other, like the right to use firearms in a manner that you see fit, vis-a-vis what Marion Hammer and the NRA said back in the 90s, versus like, this is my property, don't mess with it. And I think that ultimately what the Florida Supreme Court is going to have to decide is which is more important, right? Because we're almost past, or not almost, we're past the point of negotiation where the Element Training Compound, I guess they could still settle, right? So maybe they're not, but it's gotten to the point where they're putting it in front of the Supreme Court. It feels like almost like a zero-sum game. Like somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. And I'm interested to see if that's the truth, if that's what happens. And then I'm also interested to see where the court sides, right? Because the court is, I believe it is all Republican appointed judges. And so this is going to be a good idea of where these judges think like big R Republican sentiment is when it comes to both gun and property rights.
Yeah, and I think the general public would probably feel for the Gartman family, but I mean, there's not a lot of gun ranges around, and the ability to like start one and own one is also very challenging with zoning and the amount of acres you have to have. And by all accounts, Element is running a very good business. I think they're rated like 4.8 stars with over 100 reviews on Google. And so, the general public probably likes using this facility. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be super challenging in a case that we're gonna want to continue following for sure.
Yeah. And so just to give you guys an idea, like so here's Crestview over here, right? In this area, I don't know if you can see my mouse. There it is. Right over here in the top right of your screen. Niceville's down in the bottom right of your screen. And then it is, this gun range is, there's Milligan, Holt, too far. Here we go. Here it is, right here. So this is the Gartman's, where is it? No, that's not right.
Well, Element is north of I-10 and actually borders I-10 as
Yeah,
well.
it's
So,
in here somewhere, I think. I'm trying to make sure I got the right place. Oh, here it is. No, it's west of Holt. Okay, so this right here, top left of your screen, where you can see all this stuff, is that private property, that home, right?
Mhm.
Everything to the south, this big area right here, where you can see like what looks like some lakes. It looks like it's been like almost like strip mined, or not strip mined, but like where you cut down, clear cut it on this area. And then you see like the trees over in this area. That's the gun range, right? And so the family is arguing like they can't use all this land around here for their houses. I mean, or for their horses, stuff like that. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see like what the law says, because they built this training complex in accordance with all the zoning stuff in Okaloosa County. It's not like they like put this thing up overnight and said, "Ha, we got away with it." Like there were permits, and they had land use, and they did all this stuff. And so again, I think it's going to be very fascinating to see how the Florida State Supreme Court rules on this thing, because I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think either of us do. But I mean, pulling up that map makes it quite clear that, you could see how elements, activities could definitely affect the family. And the fact that a lot of the land that the family has cleared just abuts directly to element. So,
All right. Well, all of our talk, everything from the guns to the football, has been brought to you by our boy, and soon to be yours, Steve Shutt, and the folks at Movement Mortgage. Here's the thing. You're going to need a mortgage to buy a house unless you're independently wealthy and you're getting off your private jet to buy your $13 million house with the money that father has left you. But for everybody else, there are a bunch of companies offering roughly the same rate in the long run. Don't you want somebody local that you can get a hold of when you want to get some answers to some of your questions? I'm here in the Movement Mortgage Studios all day, and I listen to my desk neighbor lawyer Lori, answer questions for people all day, get people help. She picks up the phone pretty much on the first ring, unless I'm bothering her, and then it's the second ring. So we're happy to have them, and we know that they do a great job. Steve and his team are here for you before, during, and key after the process to help you keep everything on track. And if that's not enough, Movement Mortgage donates so much money. They literally should have a dump truck for the amount of money that they give away to create charter schools all over the country for people that are in need. And they do stuff here locally as well, like supporting a bed for me and Calm, the Calm House over there on Redwood. So you need a mortgage either way. Do you want the people to take your money to do something useful with it? I think I do.
absolutely. And hopefully, with the Fed changing some rates over some time here in the next 6 to 8 months, we'll see some rates go down.
Yeah.
Even more so reason to give Steve a call. Maybe you want to refi.
I mean, don't let your dreams be dreams, because by the time you save up all the cash to buy the house outright, it's going to be worth $500,000 more anyway. So you might as well get the mortgage and refinance at some point. That is why we love Steve, is because if I didn't talk to Steve, I wouldn't know that. Anyway, looking ahead into our crystal ball, we have a couple of things on my massive handwritten chart over here that we're covering this week that we talked about in our morning meeting this morning, our staff meeting this morning. First things first, the Fort Walton Beach City Council is having their charter review. If you're familiar with what's been going on, they had a referendum on a bunch of stuff last year. So cutting the amount of increase that the city can put on its tax revenues, whether or not to pay the city council members, all that kind of stuff. Well, they are going to get another group of proposed charters to discuss at city council. I believe it's tomorrow night. Colin's on this one. That's why I'm not familiar with the specifics, but they're going to determine whether these charter amendments, which appear to kind of like go against what was on the ballot last year, are going to go up and be up for referendum again on their next ballot. So we'll be watching that. And then we're talking employment numbers. So fun stat, the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that unemployment in Okaloosa County is now at 4.1%, which is where it was in 2021, right in the kind of like the entrail of the pandemic, when we saw a little bit of a spike of unemployment. We're talking about what's going on there with the One Okaloosa Economic Development Corporation leader, Nathan Sparks. We're also going to be kind of looking into the potential for a government shutdown this week, what that would mean for federal employees, especially in a situation like this. What kind of chaos does that throw into the hiring mix? And then Let's see. Football recap comes out today. I went to South Walton versus Walton, which was ended with the lightning delay. I'm still soaking wet from going to that game. It rained, my guy. Niceville, victorious against Gulf Breeze. Crestview falls to Pace. And then, we've got a little bit of everything coming out for the rest of the week. We got, like I told you, that stuff that Steven's covering over in South Walton County concerning the Sunliner Diner and the asphalt plant, which fun morning meeting story. He came in remote, and so it sounded like he was saying asphalt plant. And
Nice.
yeah, so we made material with that for about 10 minutes. But of all these things, I mean, what's pinging your interest the most, Paul?
Well, this weekend is Niceville High School's homecoming. They play Godby. Godby has played a ton of close games this year already, but got to pick Niceville in this one. I think
Niceville by 100, obviously.
Yeah, by 100. But I think it would be wise for me as a father of high school students to say, you guys be safe out there for homecoming and don't do anything goofy and silly. And let's play nice in the stands this week.
Yeah. Niceville Godby is going to be on the docket this weekend. We got a bunch of Walton County games that we're going to be covering this weekend as well. And I am currently finishing the highlight reel for Niceville at Gulf Breeze. Niceville, I think, hung 47 points, 49 points on Gulf Breeze from the first half. So there's plenty of highlights, is what I'm trying to say. And then Pace and Crestview. Crestview, we got your highlights coming out as well here in the next little bit. So I'll have those pretty soon. Other than that, man, I mean, we've got a busy week. We got a lot of news this week, and we're excited to share it with you. But if you have a story you want us to cover, midbaynews.com is very excited to have you. Oh, no, Colin's not texting. But we would love to have your story ideas. You can email me, Christopher@midbaynews.com. News@midbaynews.com also garners you a response, or Colin, 2 L's, at midbaynews.com. And if you want to get our news before everybody else, sign up for the newsletter. midbaynews.com/newsletter is where you can find us. Paul, anything I'm forgetting?
Well, we should remind them that there's a secret Facebook group you could be a part of, and all you have to do is donate to Mid-Bay News consistently, and you'll be added to that group. And in there, we talk about all sorts of things, and some of it is before it hits the news. So maybe you should consider to donate to local news to keep it alive and running.
Yeah, and Colin, listening to the show in the next room, 2 rooms over, says, shout out to me for all the travel that I did. He did go, and I thought this was pretty cool. For the first half, he witnessed the blowout that Niceville had against Gulf Breeze, and then said, please don't make me watch the second half of this, please. And so I said, okay, go to Crestview Pace. And so he got double action this weekend, watching Crestview, whose defense looked mad decent against Pace, whose star running back is, I guess, he's been injured, so we'll see what happens. But the backup running back, that offensive line that's basically like an SEC caliber offensive line, did work against a very good Crestview defense. So lots of stuff to cover this week. We're excited about it, and we will see you guys on Friday for Final Approach to Game Day, and throughout the week with all of the stuff that we're going to be putting out, including, I'm hoping, a really banging reel about the Miccosukee Tribe's invitation for no particular reason for Walton County commissioners to show up and just, talk shop.
I can't wait to see it. That's going to be hilarious. I already know.
I am going to be in so much trouble. Anyway, we love you guys.